Jordi Alexander, who is the CIO of Selene Capital and the Chief Alchemist of Mantle.
All the ecosystem projects, they're all having their own new token. So like Richard Moe is going to have a new token. We're going to want the Mantle token holders to get airdrops or be able to get access to all the ecosystem tokens. We will have a yield boost, which has been announced by now that we're basically doubling the yield. So from December, the yield will be double. So about 7.2, 7.3. So literally double yield.
That's actually very big. So when you look at every other competitor, Coinbase, Binance, they're all like 3-4% max.
And that will go for at least a couple months, and I think quite a bit longer. Most important thing is that there are no unlocks. There is no, vesting schedules and all this stuff. That's a huge difference compared to, most of the coins out there that every month, every 6 months, there is a large VC bag that's up 50x that has to get dumped on the market.
Welcome everyone. Today we will dive deep into the Mantle ecosystem, and what better way to do it because I have a special guest with us, Jordi Alexander, who is the CIO of Selene Capital and the Chief Alchemist of Mantle. Jordi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. It's an
Awesome.
exciting week. There's a lot going on. It's a good time right now to be in crypto.
Yeah, for sure. Finally starting to see some action again, and we've been all touching grass for 2 years. It's about time. Just a little bit of background, I really wanted to have Jordi on because I have been following Jordi since way back 2.5 years ago when the first DeFi stablecoin hype wave came up. And, Olympus, Wonderland were all the rage, but Jordi was one of the first people to call out the inherent design flaws of, these projects being delayed, farming schemes. And I think really your tagline, your username of game theorizing puts it perfectly. So I really, enjoyed some of the early comparisons of these DeFi farms on a spectrum based on how sustainable they are and how they, Olympus was kind of comparable to things like Axie were a little bit more sustainable. And then even down the line, we have things like BitConnect, which everyone already knows. So that just put everything in perspective straight away, and it clicked for me perfectly. So Jordi, tell us about how you like to analyze these projects. I appreciate the fundamental plus incentive analysis at that time.
Yeah, during that crazy time, I would say DeFi summer 2021. It was as if money was just getting created out of thin air, and to a certain extent, it was because you're creating a new industry, and there is an element of that. But like you described, there were a lot of protocols that made you feel like it was just an unending, money tree that you could keep going for forever. Olympus is a great one where the backing on the treasury might be $10 million, and then the actual market cap of the thing is billions of dollars. And what is this 100-to-1 ratio? There's some error in the system, and I was very curious and keen to analyze and figure out why is that error there, and what's going to make it disappear. And with Olympus it was okay. I would say Luna was the one that kind of really took the steam out of the whole market.
Yeah really took the cake there. So yeah, definitely agree with you there. And I think some of the points we can learn about in this upcoming cycle, like the user experience, presenting how much value is in the ecosystem and how it's being distributed. Those are cool. But when it gets very boosted and it's inherently hiding where the rewards are coming from, that's kind of the part that we want to get rid of. Cool. So let's go into what you do today in crypto. So tell us about Selene Capital and Chief Alchemist and Mantle. What are your roles today?
Yeah, so Selene Capital is a trading firm that focuses on crypto. So it trades on all the DeFi exchanges, CeFi exchanges, by 100 different coins. So I just do everything from providing liquidity, LPing, taking directional views. We have different teams that focus on different things, but it's all within crypto, and I would say we're pretty into DeFi and into that ecosystem, not just trading on Binance, let's say.
For sure, yeah, that's definitely a bit of an edge that the Web2 crowd hasn't been able to catch up. And how did you come into Mantle, and what's your really role there at Chief Alchemist? It sounds really amazing. I'm assuming you're the kind of token and utility wizard.
So, yeah, my background being trading, I've always been trading the products, but never creating the products. And, the entrepreneur in me has always wanted to be on the other side of the table. And instead of just buying and trading the coin, I want to try to make a good one, right? Like see what that's like. And obviously, to do that, you need a lot of resources. You need a really good team. You need a lot of things to go for. You can't just, randomly come up with an idea and execute it. And the Mantle team was one that reached out to me, wanted to pick my brain, get some ideas. And we'll talk about meth, but that was one of like the first ideas that I came up with. And when I realized that these guys, they're really good at actually taking ideas and executing them and putting them into reality, and they have the backing needed and the capital needed to really make it success. I was like, okay, this is going to be a great partnership. So Chief Alchemist basically means anywhere I can, I just want to get involved and provide guidance and provide support and really come up with the ideas that hopefully bring some excitement and some creativity. Because after the only thing I don't like about crypto is like everybody starts copying each other. There's a Uniswap and then there's like 100 different clones of Uniswap, right? So I'm kind of wanting to be on the forefront and be the one creating the new stuff. So that's why it all came together.
Awesome. Yeah, on this channel, we've been following Mantle for a while, even back in the BitDAO days. And I think two sectors really stand out to me. So number one is like, it is coming from BitDAO, it has a very large treasury, but they take a very product-driven and very decentralized focus. So instead of having just like an exchange token and whatnot, there's real ecosystem and the technology they're really pushing forward. And I really like how when BitDAO wanted to launch their own chain, they chose to take the hard route and create their own technology instead of just launching another EVM copy. So that I respected a lot, and we covered the whole migration on the channel. But since that point, I haven't been following as closely of everything that's happening in the Mantle ecosystem. So really, these are some of the things we want to dive in today. So tell us about what is Mantle today. What is the umbrella brand? I understand there are multiple products.
Yeah, so Mantle is most well known for the layer 2. That's kind of like the flagship product. So it's a chain, it's its own chain. It's on Ethereum. It's Ethereum aligned. It went live in July. So around ETH Paris this year is, mainnet launched. Of course, it's one thing to launch a mainnet, and it's a whole other thing to have like a flourishing ecosystem with all the apps deployed and tested and everything else. That takes some time. So part of the reason why you haven't heard about it for the last 6 months is because it takes this process to audit everything and make sure it's secure and get the right partnerships and really build it out. So that's what we've been doing, and finally, like now, 6 months later, everything is starting to roll out. So it's a really exciting period for Mantle. And on a high level, you can consider that the chain, the Ethereum chain, is a core part of Mantle, but it's not the only product. And I think Mantle will be really good at launching different products. And the second product that we've announced for some time now that's been in development and now live is the liquid staking protocol, so the Mantle ETH.
Very cool. So Mantle Network, the layer 2 itself, I have compared with other projects before. So let's just touch base on this really quick. So there are some questions I had around Mantle's technology, especially on L2Beat. So we can see that this is already one of the top layer 2s out there, and it does put it in perspective. So Mantle's based on OP instead of ZK, and $239 million of TVL, really respectable. So one of the things that I have questions about versus like the positioning is compared to Arbitrum, OP, etc. These guys claim that they're rollups versus Mantle. Usually it's classified as using OP's technology stack, but more as a separate chain. So what's the difference there?
So you have some decisions to make when you decide, for example, do you want to use Ethereum L1 for data availability, or do you want to have a cheaper option? Obviously, a lot of people are talking about Celestia now. The other option is Eigenlayer. So that's
Right.
going to be one that's going to get more hyped as that token launches. Right now, there's only a Celestia token, so people are kind of more talking about that option. But the idea is, if you want to make the user experience better and have, cheaper fees, then you don't necessarily need to use ETH L1 for data availability. It's quite expensive to do that. And so Mantle has taken the decision early on, it was kind of maybe the first one, I think, to do this, to choose this modular approach and use Eigenlayer for data availability, which, in a way makes it not like an L2 in every sense of the word, like a rollup in every sense of the word, but it still uses the security of Ethereum, and it uses the data availability, from Eigenlayer, which is still secure.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the key difference there.
Gotcha. And this will make it much more scalable in terms of fees and throughput.
Yeah, exactly. So really, there's a lot of discussion how will Ethereum scale now, especially when Solana is being kind of like the comparable, and people
Right.
are looking at it, and it's pretty obvious that we're going to get in the end, two things, like one, parallelization of computation, and then two, I think, external data availability in a cheaper form, and just using the economic guarantees for security to make sure that nobody can take funds. You can always withdraw your money back. That's kind of where the puck seems to be going. And then the final point is, on ZK versus optimistic. I think as ZK proofs become kind of commoditized and very good, Mantle and others, I think, will incorporate those ZK proofs. There's no reason to not use ZK in the end. I think everybody will go in that direction.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. And I think the modular approach is what's meaningful here. So for sure, you want to go for obviously the most decentralized, but also you have the choice of going whichever direction of data availability you want to go for. So if you want to pivot to fully on-chain, you could, if that becomes the most popular thing. But obviously, depending on your use case, you could have, when Eigenlayer and other, DA solutions come up, they obviously are very appealing as well, way better than before when, you're compromising a lot. So good direction for sure. Okay, and then the other product that's very recently just launched is Mantle's METH, or Mantle Staked ETH. So tell us about this protocol. So is this a LSC protocol? How does it compare with other competitors like, Lido, Rocket Pool, etc.?
Yeah, so it's comparable to those. It's comparable to something like Lido, which is the largest TVL in crypto. I think it's about $22 billion right now. So there is a lot of talk around if that's too much, and is 33% kind of like a threshold where it becomes a problem. At Mantle, we don't really mind. We're gonna ultimately try to stake our own claim and aim for a good chunk of the percentage of Ethereum as well by being the best product. So how is it different than Lido? I would say the design is, first of all, simpler, more modern. We need to look at where Lido came from. They came from a pre-proof of stake world. So we remember the beacon chain, and it seems like ancient history now, but Ethereum used to actually be mined like Bitcoin was, right? So a lot of the designs for things like Rocket Pool and Lido, they had to take into consideration, this previous world and then merge, and it's a very complicated, difficult design. I've seen all the diagrams, and it's kind of intense. We're using a kind of a modern design, still has the same amount of security and all the audits and everything going on. We understand that it's a branded, so it's a Mantle ETH. Mm-hmm. This kind of means that we will be making it a very core part of the ecosystem. And this is kind of what differentiates it against all the other ones. If you're using Rocket Pool ETH, it's hard to get that network effect to really get it integrated into apps. While for METH, this is going to be kind of a given. All the native apps on Mantle will be using METH for DeFi instead of ETH, like normal ETH.
Oh, interesting. That's very cool. I was not, that was one of the next questions I was going to ask. So, with this branding, right? Usually when you have a new chain, any other EVM, they will bridge in the ETH, but it would still be a bridged version of ETH. And maybe they will have ST-ETH in some of the pools, but mainly it will be ETH or wrapped ETH. In this case on Mantle, so any LP farms or liquidity, things like that, you'll try to incentivize as much for METH as possible.
Yeah, correct. So we can get a little bit into like the difference between, what's Mantle as a layer 2 versus Arbitrum, Optimism, ZK Sync, because there's like huge fundamental philosophical differences, I would say,
Sure.
in all of these. So all of those, I would say, have focused on the technology layer. And, they've been building for 5 years, like ZK Sync, they've been trying to figure out how to get something working. And I would say Mantle is trying to pick the best on the technology side of what everybody else has done and integrate it. But the approach is more on the product side. What is actually a good product for users? What would create a good user experience? And of course, we talked about cheaper fees. That comes into play. Like that's very important as well. But really thinking about what's an ecosystem that is cohesive, makes sense, and has the kind of like the right building blocks. And METH is a building block ultimately where we will build around it the same way that ETH is a building block, but it'll be a superior version because it'll be staked, it'll have a yield, and it'll kind of be incentivized across the whole ecosystem. So that's quite a different approach, I would say. It's a much more, instead of leaving the playing ground and just building it and letting people build what they want, kind of like how Arbitrum and ZK Sync are doing, Mantle is taking an approach of, being a guide and kind of saying like, we will help incentivize, this type of behavior and make it secure, rewarding, and, ultimately kind of entertaining and fun as well. That's kind of like how the tongue-in-cheek name came about.
The math. Yes. Yes. So I think it really touches upon this concept of like native yield as well, right? So when you have, we saw the whole craze around Blast when people are technically, Blast is a layer 2, but it doesn't really exist yet. However, people are just very interested in depositing in their ETH into this supposed layer 2, and it can create yield natively through Ethereum staking. Now that's a very popular narrative people can get around. When you have Mantle, something that already exists as a very vibrant and functional ecosystem with its own layer 2, and then you plug this in, not only do you have the kind of narrative driven for gathering like native yield, but also people deposit ETH, get their METH, and they can still do things right away. So versus on Arbitrum,
the Blast comparison is amazing because there is no layer 2, there's no apps, there's nothing. You're just getting stuck in a bridge for 3 months. You don't even have sovereignty. You can't withdraw. You can't do anything. If you want to try to use METH, you can change it into METH and then change it back. You can keep it on L1. You don't have to move it to the L2. You're not locked anywhere. You actually have the freedom that DeFi and crypto is supposed to be about. It's all about the user having control of their own funds. So all we're doing is creating bonus incentives to nudge you in a certain direction. So we will have a yield boost, which has been announced by now that we're basically doubling the yield. So the yield that you're seeing here will soon be.
So we're seeing 3.6% APY right now. How much would that be after?
Yeah, so from December, the yield will be double. So about 7.2, 7.3. So literally double yield. And that will go for at least a couple months, and I think quite a bit longer as we really look to grow the amount of users into METH.
Wow, that's actually very big. So when you look at every other competitor, Lido, Rocket Pool, Coinbase, Binance, they're all like 3-4% max. I'm not even sure if some of them have extra MEV rewards, but they're like slightly above 4 max. So 7.5 is great. And how is this just kind of an internal incentive that you're giving?
Yeah, so Part of what we're doing for the first time, and we got the approval from the DAO, is we will be staking the ETH. There's about 270,000 ETH in the treasury that for the first time we will be staking and getting yield on it. And we've decided to, for the first months, pass on that yield to the METH users. So instead of keeping it ourselves, we'll just give the huge yield onto users. So we will be doubling their yield for them.
Gotcha. Okay. So your own money, your own Ethereum, you're going to stake it and giving it out to the other stakers. That's cool. Yeah, that's much more sustainable than just like incentivizing with your tokens or just magically there's money somewhere. Okay.
There's no new token. There's no L2 pool.
Gotcha.
It's literally just pure Ethereum that you don't even have to claim it separately. It will just natively accrue into METH at the same rate of double. So it'll be very easy for users to do nothing and just change into METH. And I think we're creating it as a way for people to be incentivized to try it out and realize, this is a superior product.
For sure. And I think just with that number alone, with those yield numbers, right, we're looking at Mantle today at number 7, 150 million TVL, but I could easily see this driving up quite a bit of FOMO because 7.4 versus 4% is big difference for the native Ethereum staking. Okay, cool. Yeah. So there's the other aspect that you touched upon a little bit, which is how the rewards are distributed and shown. So I understand, from your DeFi wizardry back in the days, you obviously are expert in understanding the instant gratification part. So tell us about how the rewards are being accrued on here and how the kind of users can really feel that they're earning something.
Yeah. So right now, what you have on your screen is the vanilla. You put some ETH, you convert it, and this is the yield you're getting, and it kind of shows you what exactly your APY is. From the 18th, the yield will be doubled, like we talked about, and we just want to bring in users, bring in TVL, bring in ETH, change it into METH. That's really the goal here. So we will even kind of soon on this dashboard let you change other types of ETH like stETH, like Lido, just directly change it into METH. You could call it kind of like a friendly vampire attack. Where you can just double your yield by clicking a single button. We want to make it that easy to double your yield.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I could see how that works. Right, so there will be the doubling part will be very one click, double your yield. Yes. Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I would totally love to try that. I currently, I stake on Lido a bit, but it's not that attractive, to be honest. And I have to do extra DeFi stuff as well. Okay, so I want to move on to the next other part of the yield that's available on Mantle, and that's with your native yield stablecoin, right? So there's a stablecoin called USDY being in partnership with Ondo Finance, which is a RWA protocol. And then you also have a wrapper version for that called MUSD. So tell us about how these two stablecoins fit in the ecosystem. Yeah,
so again, going back to many months ago when I first kind of was trying to figure out what is the ideal L2 ecosystem, you want to have yield on your ETH from staking, which is sustainable, and you want to have treasury yield on your dollars, which is paid for by our friend Jerome Powell, so also sustainable. And we talked to a lot of RWA protocols at the time. That was kind of like the hype narrative. And we found that Ondo had found a way where users can actually hold these tokens. They don't have to KYC and do all this crazy stuff. They can use it the same as USDT. You can just get yield and do the same activity. So in essence, the native yield comes on the dollar side from using Ondo. They have treasuries, and you can go to their website and see exactly which T-bills they have and when they expire. You have a kind of a full breakdown there, which is a lot of transparency that I think people nowadays ask for. And ultimately, what we've decided is we will make a native currency called MUSD, so Mantle USD, and Ando has done this for us, which is pegged to the dollar, so 1-to-1, and it just rebases rewards for you. So at a 5% rate, you're just getting more every day. So it's a very superior product over USDT or USDC in every way, really. And we're pretty excited to have our DeFi apps integrate that.
I think there are two parts that are really cool about this that you briefly mentioned. So I just want to bring our audience attention on this. So basically, there's a 5% kind of around 5% native yield coming from very sustainable treasury bills, right? That's being fed into USDY and then MUSD as well, because that's a wrapper. Now, that's number one, which is when you deposit any, when you want to farm or do anything with stablecoins or Ethereum, you do it on Mantle and you instantly have that 5% boost from Treasury, 5% boost from, 7.4% boost from Ethereum staking, and then your yield is just going to be better everywhere you go. And the second thing is, I really like this rebasing mechanic because, so how the MUSD wrapper works, from my understanding, is that like this. This is like Origin USD. They did very similar thing. So instead of you having to stake your USD for the yield, you just hold the USD and then you get more and more of this USD every time that there is rewards being distributed. So you can see in their wallet here, as time goes on, your balance increases. Now this is like very much instant gratification. You don't want to sell this anymore, and this is the only USD you want to hold. So this is the other part that I really appreciate from a DeFi, Ponzi-nomics farmer back in the days perspective. I think this will be big. So combining these two aspects, the whole DeFi ecosystem on Mantle should see a lot of hype from this. Okay, so pivoting off from that point, I think once these two products are live on mainnet and people can start earning yield, the ecosystem will also be really interesting. Just today, I saw Trader Joe. They did a cross deploy on Mantle. So so they did a kind of franchise of Trader Joe called Merchant Mo on Mantle. And I'm assuming, there's going to be much more ecosystem incentives coming from Mantle to have users be able to use these two main assets. So tell us about the EcoFund and how you plan to attract new products, and what kind of products are you prioritizing?
Yeah, so another thing that I think Mantle is kind of unique is that we've taken a showcase approach as opposed to being a totally impartial referee where anybody just deploys any app they want and anything happens. We have decided to partner with world-class teams, vetted teams that are doxed, at least to us. They don't have to be publicly, but at least to the economics committee, so that we can do a proper VC investment into them and support them with a lot of liquidity, a lot of incentives. And Trader Joe team, obviously, super experienced, security, top notch. And we've partnered with them. It's not exactly a cross deployment. They've created a new product. Merchant Mo it's going to have its own separate team. It's going to have its own separate token. So it's not going to be the Joe token, even though I think 10% will be given to the Joe community, so that there is an alignment between the two. So that we do want to kind of include everybody. But yeah, it's not just the same as having Uniswap deployed on another chain. It will take a life of its own. The whole product will be designed around Mantle, so quite more dedicated than just a normal cross deployment. And that's the approach that we've taken. We don't want to have the apps that we have exist exactly in the same form somewhere else. That's
cool. Okay, so from a DeFi user perspective, this is cool because, well, when you have the old Trader Joe brand, it's kind of very Avalanche Arbitrum driven, right? That's still what you think about it. Now with this, if there's a new token, especially if the interface and the integration is much more Mantle focused with the M branding, that could be cool. I'm assuming there's some other wizardry that needs to be done with MUSD, how it rebases into LP pools and how that rewards will accrue. Things like that will be interesting, actually. So Mantle's ecosystem fund has $200 million, and this is the catalyzed capital pool investing. So I saw on the on Mantle's governance snapshot as well that you guys are looking to not only support these projects with investment, but also directly deploy your own treasury into these protocols in order to help them bootstrap, right? So how does that look like?
Yeah, so we have, like I said, these showcase apps that are starting to come online. I think, Merchant Mode you just mentioned is one of the showcase apps, and most of them have not come online. I would say like over December and January, the vast majority will, the kind of the first batch. So we're very excited. This is kind of like been leading to this for the whole year. And for those apps, we will be providing liquidity. I think we have, at least 8 figures that we can deploy into each one of these apps. So they will be quite bootstrapped. There will be a lot of incentives. We will be deploying the treasury, actively. And I think initially we're being a bit careful. We didn't want to, it's a lot of money, having billions of dollars. You don't want to just splash it around. But I think maybe we're being too careful. I think now we will start deploying a bit more actively as we're very happy with the quality of the teams and the projects. And we have the ability to deploy MNT, METH, MUSD, and also potentially, some BTC as well. So that will make sure that there's, good slippage, good liquidity, and kind of like an active financial base for all these ecosystem projects.
Very cool. I think at the end of the day, this is very different from your typical eco fund because I've participated in a couple before on the VC side where essentially you have the early investors in the that hold a lot of the ecosystem's coin, and they just kind of soft commit to an eco fund to invest, but they don't have to. They don't have to actually commit anything hard, especially not on chain in a DeFi liquidity format. So the fact that you guys have this whole Mantle treasury coming from BitDAO with not only MNT but also real hard assets, Ethereum, USDC, even other staked ETH and Bitcoin and stablecoins. This is cool because if I was a project founder, I come into your ecosystem, build a lending protocol. I don't have to use some weird incentive and hope people come. I just directly have that bootstrap of 8 figures. That's really cool. And I could say at least the base DeFi layer, decentralized exchange, lending, borrowing protocol, CDP, stablecoin, yield farm, aggregator, etc. Like those will all be well incentivized, very liquid. And at the end of the day, that's mostly where the kind of first tier of new ecosystem they stop, right? So just having that already there is a big commitment. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay, so appreciate all the deep dive. Now, I think a lot of people in our audience, they would really, from a retail perspective, they would love to understand the Mantle Tokenomics a bit more and how it's doing. And just to kick this off on the right foot. So I've been following the BitDAO token conversion to Mantle before. Although right after, I thought the Catalyst event has kind of ended. But through doing research, I realized, Mantle actually burned 3 billion of their own supply. So back in the days, when BitDAO had the token, it was 9 billion total supply. But you see today, Mantle's supply is like only 6.2 billion. So that whole 3 billion was burned from the team. I honestly, kudos to you guys for doing this. This made the token much more appealing for the circulating token investors. So tell us about what Mantle token is today and the utilities it have.
Yeah, so the most important thing about the new token Mantle as opposed to the previous one, even though there's better tech, it's an upgraded contract and all this stuff. The most important thing is that there are no unlocks. There's no vesting schedules and all this stuff. That's a huge difference compared to most of the coins out there. That every month, every 6 months, there's like a large VC bag that's up 50x that has to get dumped on the market. It's literally all just out there. So there's no supply overhangs, and that's a pretty big deal. So the entire supply is out there or in the treasury, and which is basically like owned by the token holders and the DAO for incentives. So everything is transparent. I would say it's one of the most transparent tokens and DAOs out there. You can actually literally click through the treasury and you can see exactly, the monthly expenses. You can see like the cleaning bill in the office. Maybe not that, but you can see like every other expense on a month-to-month basis. So that's very cool. It really creates kind of like a community, transparency that I think really people are looking for. So yeah, I mean, otherwise on the tokenomics, I think, some of the plans are for next year. As we described, all the ecosystem projects, they're all having their own new token. So like Merchant Mo is going to have a new token. We're going to want the Mantle token holders to get, airdrops or be able to kind of get access to all the ecosystem tokens. And kind of like how Atom did really nicely, where any Cosmos chain, deploys and then kind of gets tokens for the prime token holders. I took some inspiration from that, and we're designing something very cool along those lines.
That's cool. Okay, so yeah, back in the days, Atom staking, that was actually the only thing going for Atom staking. The core rewards, it was pure inflation, but the airdrop aspect was really cool. Like if you were really into Cosmos ecosystem, you knew that if you stake Atom and then you provide liquidity in Astroport, and you will get the airdrops, right? And that because only the core believers in Cosmos staked, that filter out so many people. That would be cool, and that, I mean, it would be quite high incentive as well, because it also beats out farming a bit. Like if you just give your MNT token to LP farms on Mantle Dexes, it's just people know exactly what to expect, and the whales really get too much. Versus if you do staking based, a lot of people don't do it, and you can get much more individual holders. That's cool, actually.
Yeah, we want to gamify it even more. I've been trying to design a way where you have to choose which app you're more bullish on, and you get kind of tokens on that app. So let's say you like Merchant Mo and I like Init. That's another one's coming out, Init Capital. So I can choose to just get an airdrop and Init, and you can choose to get Merchant Mo, or I can choose 50-50, kind of like depending on what I want. And it kind of makes me actively have to, I can't just stake it and then leave it and I'm just getting stuff. I have to look at which one I think is more bullish, try it out, and then, maybe this is the one that I want to get tokens of. So it creates more interaction. I think it's more cool.
It's almost like a gamify, DAO voting, right?
Yeah.
And with the rewards in there as well. That's cool. Yeah. I think that's the whole point of having token holders, right? You want to get them not only holding but as involved as possible. Mm-hmm. I couldn't find this information anywhere, so thank you for the alpha. I know I'm gonna if I can get more tokens, new tokens, oh yeah, I'm all for that. Okay, awesome. And that's the Mantle token itself. And to be honest, I didn't check this whole total supply. I didn't realize this was so clean, literally 51-49 split. And I can track all the treasury. I mean, this makes much more sense now. So really, when you compare this circulating supply to the total supply, that's not half the supply that's still coming from outside, right? Even though half that is locked per se, it's still transparent in the treasury, and you can choose to vote on, what you want these funds to be deployed to. But you can, even if the team decides on, okay, we're going to incentivize certain things, it's going right back into the ecosystem. So yeah, exactly. I think these numbers are much more favorable. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, that's all. Answers so many questions about Mantle that I already had, and I think I have much more things to do research on from this point. So, are there anything else that you would like to cover on Mantle? Anything that we missed?
I mean, like I said, the EcoFund projects will kind of be rolling out about one a week now for the next few weeks, and we do want to make sure that they will be well supported using METH, using MUSD, and ultimately creating the highest sustainable yield possible in the whole space. So hopefully users will enjoy the products that are being built and get some meth.
This is the good meth to have. Okay, so definitely if you want to keep up to date on the not only new projects launching, but also potentially new tokens that are launching on Mantle ecosystem, follow Mantle's Twitter. This is where I'll be turning on notifications and getting all the new incentives like the Mo token. Okay, just to finish things off and tell us a little bit about, where you're thinking, what you're looking at in the market. Like, are there any sectors that you're bullish on? How are you seeing market overall, aside from Mantle?
Yeah, I mean, market overall, it looks like the institutions are actually coming, especially when it comes to Bitcoin. We have this real inflows that we're seeing on that side, and I think that's it's creating a wealth effect for the digital token holders out there, the communities, and this is kind of like an exciting time. I think it happened again in 2021 after that run up, where DeFi summer happened, and you had this explosion of creativity and Ponzi's. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of Ponzi's again.
Yeah.
We'll see a lot of like Safe Moon type of things, but hopefully there'll be some exciting like actual innovations as well. So I'm looking forward to this kind of Cambrian explosion that's about to happen.
Yeah, likewise. Every cycle, there's a couple different mechanics that really pop off, and they usually overshoot, right? You have like IDOs and DeFi farming, Ponzi farming, and then all of them kind of came crashing down. The core mechanics are there, but just you don't want to boost them 100x. You want to take inspiration of how those user experiences are good and really plug them into kind of more sustainable products. And I'm excited. Like, I don't think I've seen anything really, really different yet. It's still people are repeating the same things, farming, LP, IDO launches. So we'll see. Maybe there's something more unique, new Ponzi's, and hopefully this time people can get in early enough, get out early enough, not get burned too much, and just also learn something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think we'll end it there. Thank you for coming on, Jordi. It's been a pleasure having you on, and always love to talk about DeFi, Ponzi, and I think how you guys are doing things are Mantle, really taking those user experience points and understanding what the users want and giving them the good experience while having a strong backing technology side and funding side. That's something I can definitely get behind.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Dennis. It's been fun.
Perfect. Great to have you today, and look forward to chatting sometime again in the future.